A shadow falls across a wooden floor, polished by a century of bare feet, while rain taps gently against a roof, curving upward into the sky like the horns of a massive buffalo. The air in the highlands of West Sumatra is heavy with mist, carrying the sharp, sweet scent of damp earth. We are walking along a narrow road, winding through the Agam Valley, just as dawn begins to pull shadows out from beneath the dense canopy of the jungle. You can hear the distant murmur of water rushing over stones in the riverbed, blending seamlessly with the morning call to prayer, echoing from a village mosque hidden somewhere in the fog. The green of the rice terraces here is so vivid, it almost feels glowing, holding the first light of the morning in the water pooled around the stalks. As we walk deeper into the village, the modern concrete structures begin to fade away, replaced by something extraordinary. Through the breaks in the heavy morning fog, striking silhouettes appear against the pale sky. Sweeping roofs with sharp, soaring peaks thrust upward, piercing the mist. They look like grand wooden ships sailing through an endless sea of green jungle. We approach the largest one slowly. The timber of the building is dark, heavy, and alive with memory. A stray cat sleeps near the carved wooden steps, curled into a tight circle of warmth. A soft breeze whispers through the open windows, carrying the faint smell of drying cinnamon and roasting coffee. Standing before it, you realize this is not just a building designed for shelter. It feels entirely alive, as if it has a pulse beating silently beneath the floorboards. In an age where families fracture across cities and home is often just a temporary address, you have to wonder, why does an entire culture dedicate its wealth to building massive, indestructible houses that belong exclusively to women? Structures ensuring that no matter how far the suns wander, there is always a physical center waiting for their return. Welcome to Culture Journey. Today, we are walking far off the crowded tourist paths into the deep highlands of Indonesia to spend time with the Minangkabau people. We are not here to look at architecture as an artifact. We are here to experience how wood space and tradition can physically hold a family together across time. We are entering the Rumah Gadang, which translates simply to the great house, to understand a way of life where women hold the roots of the earth and men are expected to journey outward into the unknown. Take a deep breath of the mountain air and step inside with me. Sitting on the smooth wooden steps of her ancestral home is Ibu Naya. Her hands are weathered like the timber beneath her, resting gently in her lap as she folds a small green leaf wrapping a piece of betel nut. She does not speak much at first. She simply watches the mist burn off the rice fields, just as her mother did and her grandmother before her. We take off our shoes, leaving them on the damp grass before stepping onto the elevated floorboards. The wood is cool against the skin. It creaks softly, a familiar rhythmic sound that Ibu Naya has known since she was a small child running through these very halls. She wears a traditional woven cloth wrapped around her waist, the deep red and gold threads catching the morning light. She is the Bundo Kanduang, the matriarch and guiding elder of this lineage. She does not just live in this house. She is its guardian. Her presence gives the massive wooden structure its soul. Without her, without the quiet authority of her presence, her prayers in the early light, and her hands maintaining the rhythm of ancestral life, the building would simply be empty timber. She points toward a darkened corner near the back of the house, where the light struggles to reach, telling us quietly that this is where she learned to weave, where she held her first child, and where she intends to one day close her eyes for the last time. You look into her eyes and you see the deep, quiet strength of someone who knows exactly who she is and exactly where she belongs in the long, unbroken chain of her ancestors. We walk slowly through the vast main hall with her. The space is entirely open, uninterrupted by walls or partitions. The smell of old mahogany, polished teak, and lingering clove smoke fills the air, creating an atmosphere that feels both ancient and deeply comforting. As you look up at the soaring ceiling and the massive tree trunks serving as pillars, you notice something strange. There are no nails holding this massive structure together. None at all. Instead, every wooden beam and pillar is intricately carved to interlock perfectly joined only by wooden pegs. When the earth beneath West Sumatra shakes, and it shakes often with terrifying force, this house does not stubbornly resist the tremor. It sways. It dances with the earthquake. The wooden joints flex and shift, absorbing the violent shock of the earth before groaning and settling back into their original alignment. It is a profound realization. The Minangkabau ancestors did not build homes to fight the aggressive forces of nature. They built homes to move gracefully with them. Survival, they understood centuries ago, comes not from rigid defiance, but from flexibility and a deep understanding of the environment. The wood itself was soaked in ponds for years before construction, naturally treating it to resist insects and rot, ensuring the house would stand long after the builders returned to the earth. As we walk further inside, the true nature of this vast communal space reveals itself. Along the back wall, there is a row of small identical rooms. Ibu Naya gently pushes open one of the intricately carved wooden doors. The room inside is small, intimate, and quiet, adorned with bright fabrics. These rooms do not belong to the men of the family. They belong solely to the women. The Minangkabau are the largest matrilineal society in the entire world. Here, family name, agricultural land, and the ancestral house itself are passed down exclusively from mother to daughter. When a woman marries her husband, moves into her family home, he is considered an honored guest in this house, not its ruler. If they have daughters, those daughters will one day inherit a room of their own along that back wall, continuing the cycle. The massive central hall where we are standing is the communal heart of the family, where ceremonies are held, where disputes are settled by consensus, where endless meals are shared. You stand in the exact center of the hall and realize that this building is a physical map of their entire society. The women are the immovable anchor. They are the roots holding the family secure in the rich volcanic soil of their ancestors. But this deep, beautiful rootedness creates a fascinating cultural tension. If the women own the land and the house, what happens to the men? The answer lies in a defining cultural practice known as merantau. From a very young age, Minangkabau boys are taught that to become true men, they must leave. They must leave the quiet village, leave the absolute safety of the Rumah Gadang, and venture out into the wider, unpredictable world to seek knowledge, experience, and fortune. They become merchants, scholars, writers, and travelers, spreading across the archipelago, taking only what they can carry. We sit with Ibu Naya on woven mats as she pours us a small cup of dark, rich local coffee. She speaks softly of her brothers and her sons, who are currently living far away in bustling, distant cities. There is no sadness in her voice, only a quiet, fierce pride. This is the beautiful paradox of their culture. It is a society that values the ancestral home above all else, yet demands that its sons leave it behind. The men must journey outward so the culture can grow, accumulate wealth, and bring back new ideas, while the women remain to ensure the culture never loses its identity or its moral center. The tension between leaving and staying, between the wandering son and the waiting mother, is the actual heartbeat of the Minangkabau world. And layered upon this is another beautiful complexity. They are deeply devout Muslims, a faith traditionally patriarchal, yet they fiercely protect their ancient matrilineal roots. These two philosophies do not merely exist side by side. Over centuries of careful, sometimes turbulent balancing, they have been woven together into a singular, resilient way of life. They weave together like the intricate threads of the cloth Ibu Naya wears, creating a society that is entirely its own, deeply spiritual and uniquely grounded in female authority. We step back outside to look closer at the exterior walls. The afternoon sun is beginning to dip, casting long, warm shadows across the textured wood. You notice that the walls are not flat wooden planks. They are completely covered in thousands of intricate carvings, painted in traditional shades of red, black, yellow, and gold. Patterns of intertwined vines, fern leaves, blooming flowers, and bamboo shoots run continuously along every single surface. There are no faces, no animals, no human figures at all, only the quiet, perfect geometry of the surrounding forest. Ibu Naya runs her fingers over a smoothly carved fern leaf near the doorway. She shares a core philosophy of her people, an ancient proverb that governs everything they build and believe. Nature expands to become our teacher. The fern is carved into the house because it begins its life tightly coiled, bending low to the ground before it slowly unrolls and stretches outward toward the sun. It teaches humility before growth. The bamboo shoots are carved because bamboo is useful at every single stage of its life, from a tender edible sprout to a sturdy pole used for building. It teaches the value of being useful to your community throughout your entire life. You realize as you trace the lines with your own eyes that you are not just looking at elaborate decoration. You are reading a wooden book. The house is constantly speaking to the family, whispering the wisdom of the ancestors through the shadows and colors of the carvings, reminding them how to behave, how to think, and how to live together. Standing here on the grass as the golden hour light turns the carved timber a deep glowing amber, it becomes difficult not to think about the spaces we inhabit in our own modern lives. Most of us live in rigid boxes of concrete and glass that we bought rented or financed. We move from one box to another, collecting objects, arranging furniture, hoping to somehow create a sense of home from empty space. But our modern houses rarely remember us after we pack up and leave. They do not hold our stories in their walls, and they do not care who sleeps in them next. Could you imagine living this way? Could you imagine sleeping in a room where your great-grandmother once slept? Walking daily on floorboards smoothed by the bare feet of your ancestors, knowing that this space does not just belong to you alone? It belongs to the deep past, and it belongs to the distant future. You are merely its caretaker for a brief, fragile moment in time. What would it feel like to know that no matter how badly you fail out in the wider world, no matter how far you wander or how lost you become, there is a massive wooden house, curving up toward the sky, that is waiting patiently to welcome you back? Would that profound sense of belonging bring you deep comfort? Or would the weight of all that history and expectation feel too heavy to carry on your shoulders? The sky above the towering Singalang mountain fades slowly into a bruised purple and then a soft indigo. The evening call to prayer echoes again across the valley, this time blending with the nightly chorus of crickets and the distant rush of the river water. Inside the Rumah Gadang, oil lamps and warm yellow bulbs flicker to life, casting long, beautiful shadows across the polished floor. The smell of coconut milk chili and rich spices begins to drift from the back kitchen as evening meals are prepared. The family members who live nearby begin to gather. A daughter returns from the local market carrying fresh vegetables. Young children run across the vast main hall, their breathless laughter bouncing off the ancient wooden pillars. Ibu Naya sits near the center, watching them carefully. Her face is calm, illuminated by the soft light of the room. The house feels completely awake now. It breathes with the movement, the heat, and the voices of the people inside it. The sweeping roof stands tall and defiant against the darkening sky, sheltering the lineage, exactly as done for over a century. You realize in this quiet moment that a Rumah Gadang is never truly finished being built. It is constructed from wood and peg, repaired and maintained, but its true construction happens every single day through the voices, the arguments, the shared meals, the whispered stories, and the quiet moments of connection that echo continually within its walls. We step away slowly, walking back down the unpaved dirt path as the heavy tropical night swallows the rice terraces behind us. The towering silhouette of the great house remains visible against a sky full of stars, looking more than ever like a grand ship anchored firmly in the soil of the mountain. We spend so much of our lives searching desperately for a place where we belong. We cross oceans, we change cities, we build strenuous careers, all in the hope of finding a space that finally feels right. But here in the quiet mist-covered highlands of Sumatra, they have understood something fundamental for centuries. A home is not just a place to sleep or store your belongings. It is a sacred vessel for memory. It is the physical manifestation of love, loyalty, and absolute continuity passed down through the gentle hands of women holding a family together while the world outside spins, changes, and eventually fades away. Thank you for walking with us today on Culture Journey. The world is full of quiet, profound wisdom, hiding in the corners of ancient homes and along unpaved roads, waiting for anyone willing to slow down and listen. If this journey brought you a moment of peace or made you think differently about your own definition of home, please stay with us. Like this video, share it with someone you deeply care about, and subscribe so we can continue traveling together. There are so many more stories waiting for us out there in the quiet corners of the world. Until next time, take care of yourselves and never lose your curiosity.